Hey everyone. Okay, so obviously the biggest thing to talk about with this episode is the label Draken Joe gives to Rebecca, number 29. And all my fellow manga readers obviously already know the meaning of this, but anime onlys, from here on out, keep this number label locked away in the back of your minds for later because it's going to matter very soon, especially now that with this episode we've entered one of the arc's biggest turning points, and I imagine a lot of people who haven't read the manga are in some shape or form when the moment I'm talking about happens. I imagine a lot of people who haven't read the manga in some shape or form gonna call BS on what unfolds and how events unfold from here. But taking that understanding of how Rebecca's power, taking that understanding of the number 29, and how is going to help in understanding how Rebecca's powers truly work. Like it's a little more what basically happens is a little complex to understand, but it's one of those things where. But the best way I can describe it is that. What all this is building up to with number 29 is that in the most spoiler-free way I can explain it, is that what happens is the encapsulation of what I can only describe as one of Hiro Mashima's favorite storytelling tropes. And no, it's not overpowered characters. In fact, where the story takes this little plot thread with number 29 is actually kind of incredible, but that's for future discussion. Although, one interesting little breadcrumb to leave you guys off on is the reveal that Joe and Noah of the Shooting Star Guild have been in contact. So that in itself also shows whatever number 29 means. That it means that it's basically saying that pretty much Noah has an understanding of what's going on and what 29 means, why Joe is chosen to target Rebecca. Like it all kind of Noah is the one right now with the answers. With that said, I gotta admit I'm kind of impressed. I'm kind of pseudo impressed. The anime left the bath scene with Draken and Joe mostly intact in this episode. I mean, obviously they did the whole foggy mist thing to act as a little bit of a censor bar, but again, I'm even more impressed they kept it in at all. I expected the anime to just completely cut that scene out, and I guess there is an argument to say they rushed through it a little bit to get to him in the bathrobe. But credit where it's due for not cutting it out completely. And I know it sounds like I'm making a big deal out of one moment, but truthfully, it's one of those scenes where, for as goofy as it is to see Draken and Joe in a bath with a rubber duck, it's kind of an important scene to illustrate through Rebecca's point of view that Joe is the one holding all the cards. He's the one in control, and that Rebecca understands it's meant for Rebecca to understand the circumstances that she's in, that even if she's not being treated like a prisoner, she is, by all intents and purposes, Draken Joe's prisoner. Now, as far as what reasons he's keeping a prisoner, again, the number 29 thing, but again, we'll get to that when we get to it. Also, I want to focus in on a certain line, which is Draken Joe saying there's something precious on board the Eden Zero. And again, in context of the episode, he's obviously talking about Rebecca. But in retrospect to my knowledge of the manga, it is interesting how that could also be Mashima being a little bit coy about the other secret aboard the Eden Zero, so to speak. Again, future discussion, but that in itself, but it is kind of interesting how there are these little clues I never truly picked up on until now. That's like, yeah, I think Mashima might be talking a little bit more about. I think Mashima might be talking a little bit more than just Rebecca with that one, but yeah. And of course, we also get a very. But following that though, we get a very on-the-nose reveal of Draken Joe's ether gear being called Alchemist, which is a ether gear that allows him to warp and change matter at will, which in itself, it doesn't seem all that scary on the surface, but when you can, where Draken Joe's power starts to get truly terrifying is when you consider if this is what he can do to inanimate objects. Just think about what he can do to animate objects, like the human body. Like how can his power affect the human body? And that's kind of where the scariness of Draken Joe comes in. Is obviously he's got a lot more to it, but his power in itself is like, okay, now you're kind of scaring me a little bit. But moving on from that, though, after Shiki and Homura make their way to Rebecca's last known location, Shiki starts fighting Clean, leading to a reunion as well with Jin, where we learn Jin is Clean's brother. And much like with the number 29 business, this is one of those reveals that might seem a little insignificant right now, only serving as like a callback and a tie-in between characters. But let's just say the way the story does expand upon this reveal is pretty interesting. Fucked up, but interesting. At least in and I think that's one thing I think Eden Zero does well is how it ties character stories together. Like there's always some kind of there's always some kind of connection that is expanded upon for one reason or another. Of course, after splitting up, Shiki just found himself in one of the worst case scenarios possible, as Jean wastes no time in activating Overdrive. And looking back on this moment, because I never really hated it, but I did kind of question the logistics of it a bit. And looking back on this moment specifically, I think I do realize now, like, the reason why it was so easy for Jin to do this, where Shiki struggled just to activate stage 1, but back in his fight against Kurenai, is because when you look at Jin's body, Jin's body is largely machine, so the ability is probably more easily accessible to him because of that fact. Whereas Shiki, because he's mostly human, he does need to train a little bit more in order to access that. He does need to push his body a little more to its limits in order to access that power. Also, it should be noted that with this episode, the number of chapters adapted here is pretty much 3, which is slightly less than the last couple episodes. So if I had to make a guess, I think we're at the point in this arc where the anime is going to be pacing it out to have that moment, the moment I'm talking about, be the end scene of whatever episode it's adapted into, which will probably be around 2 or 3 episodes from now. And if they continue in this pace, then I imagine the Belial Gore's arc will probably be around, from around 10 to 12 episodes. Well, it's kind of like I thought, especially considering that they actually mixed around a couple scenes in terms of Daichi's introduction in this episode. But it's going to be interesting if we can expect the Belial Gore arc to be around 10 to 12 episodes long. Then it should be interesting to see how the anime handles other arcs beyond this. The other arcs beyond this point, because the other arcs after this are fairly short, and then there's one big arc afterwards. But again, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Analyst Crunchyroll. Be sure to notification bell with the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, everyone.